Hi, Steve Summers, Erik Skopil, and Robby Boydstun for educ.com. We just finished up the first day of post-practice. Of course, we don't get to go in and watch practice, but Coach Mark Helfrich came out, talked to media, along with several players. Let me start with you, Erik.
Yeah.
You talked to a number. What they have to say?
Well, I think one of the things, I talked to Thomas Tyner. He's obviously put on some weight, looks bigger. You talked to him, said he's up to 500 pounds on the squat, up to around 220. He's not sure if that's where he wants to play at, but he's definitely gotten bigger and stronger, and it shows. You look at his shoulders and kind of his back and neck; he's gotten bigger. And I think you see the same thing out of Marcus, who said he's up to 218 pounds. So those winter workouts obviously kind of being successful in terms of getting bigger and stronger and kind of preparing for spring ball.
Well, I asked Thomas if he thought that the additional weight was going to slow him down. He said no.
Oh, absolutely not. And he's a track guy and a speed guy, so he's not worried about that at all. And again, he said he wasn't sure if he wanted to play at this weight, but that he felt like he was bigger and stronger, which is never a bad thing.
Robby, you got to spend most of your time listening to Coach Helfrich. What do you have to say?
Well, one of the things that stood out to me was he was talking about just everybody getting back out there, kind of just getting acclimated to the process. But he also talked about the JC players as well, the ones coming in. He said it was nice seeing Hanatele Lucy and Tui Talia specifically get out there and run. We'd already heard around signing day that Dominic Harrison had already been putting in great effort in the winter workout. So you got your three JC guys there. And I got a chance to ask Helfrich about that, and he said that you hope that there's an accelerated process. You hope to see a little bit more of them early on, because they've got a bit of experience, because they've put in a little bit of time at a higher level. So he's looking forward to seeing that as camp goes on, see which of these guys is able to kind of stand out amongst the pack. You heard that there's a ton of weight gained on the offensive line itself. I think they said 150 pounds collectively. That's impressive. Marcus Mariota said he already knows that can't even hug his center anymore when he goes to talk to him. So they're putting in a lot of effort in the weight room right now. It'll be interesting to see how that pays off. Also, in terms of Mariota, how that extra weight's going to work with his knee as it heals up.
Speaking of transfers, there's one redshirt senior transfer who actually was here last season, it turns out, Jeff Stoltzman, although we saw him come out after practice on crutches with his ankle heavily bandaged up, obviously some sort of a sprained ankle. It begged the question, though, about transferring redshirt seniors who have a year of eligibility, who may have graduated from college. Russell Wilson is the obvious person that sort of sticks out in that. But, the basketball equivalent or a football equivalent of Arslan Kazemi, perhaps. I asked Mark about that. He said, well, he didn't think that it would happen so much in football, but this is case-by-case basis.
Sure, and I think it sounds like for Stolzberg, he's more of a scout team guy, but a guy who can push maybe some of those younger wide receivers, and it never hurts to have those guys in the program and around the guys. And having talked to Braylon Addison about some of the young guys, obviously having mentorship from a guy like him who's got a lot of collegiate experience under their belt, that can't be a bad thing.
Well, I imagine if there is another Russell Wilson out there someplace, the Ducks would be more than happy to bring. Yeah,
entertain offering him.
Well, this was an interesting first day. The weather sort of cooperated for the Ducks. When we drove down from Portland, it was raining, but we got here and was pretty dry. So they're going to be practicing 3 times a week during the spring session for the 15 sessions, with the spring game actually coming the first Saturday in May. So it's going to be although today is a Tuesday, from the next 2 or 3 weeks is going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Erik, you'll be here for all of them. I'll be here for at least one of those days where we'll have videos. So any final thoughts on what happened today?
I think one thing is that having talked to Braylon Addison, I asked him specifically about Jalen Brown, the only freshman who's here who kind of went his end of his high school career, and it sounds like Jalen's really made impressions throughout the program. I think one of the things that stood out from what Braylon had to say is that he hasn't been afraid. A guy like that, a 17-year-old coming out and competing with 22-year-olds, there's that possibility that they're, that the moment's too big, that they're not able to feel comfortable, and it doesn't sound like that's been the case. So he's another name, I guess, to be watching this spring and then this fall.
Well, Robby?
Yeah, and the thing that stood out to me is just it seems that now that everybody's healthy, there seems to be this renewed mentality, this renewed kind of aggression, especially even just for the first day of spring practice. It seems like everyone's kind of ready to go, especially after the way last season ended. Even with some wins down the stretch, the team didn't look 100%. So I think with that kind of renewed energy, it'll be interesting to see what the coaches talk about over the next month and what they're talking about with Erik, just to see who the guys are that's going to be standing out and which ones are still using that fuel from the fire from last season, those losses to Stanford, the losses to Arizona, to really motivate them heading into this spring, to make sure that they keep motivated through the summer into the fall as they look on to the 2014 season.
Well, as somebody said last year during the season, when you've got number 8 in the running the show, to paraphrase him, a lot of good things are going to happen. And so obviously he was asked, which people see in the video that we did, about things that he remembered, mistakes that he might have overcome. I guess he talked about a little bit about one of the Stanford games or the Arizona game. I think someone should have asked if he had a one moment of last season where he did something very positive, and if anything sticks out, maybe that's a question we'll ask later down the road. But so anyway, yeah, I noticed that the attitude was a little was upbeat, and the Ducks all looked bigger for sure.
Yeah, Mark Helfrich now has a playoff beard. So.
And he has Mark Helfrich, the head coach, has a playoff beard. So anyway, this is what we have for today, and so we'll continue our reports as spring sessions and spring practices move along towards the spring game in May. So for Erik Skopil and Robby Boydstun, this is Steve Summers for EDUC.com.